Hello, hello, hi. Can everyone hear me? If you can, wave at me. Can you hear me? Thumbs up. Hey, Judith. Hey, Rosario. Hey, Dorian. See you in the house. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be engaging for about an hour. This will be deep dive, like Isaac said, into our workshop. For 20 years, Crystal Stairs has been a leading advocacy grassroots through art, community collaboration. My tongue is tied. I just some coffee. Since our program's inception in 2006, over 10,000 parents have linked their arms and their hearts with community voices among our parents, among our providers, and among our working families. How many people in the house today are providers? Put it in the chat. If you're a provider, put it in the chat. We're investing in our relationships today. We're strengthening access to quality programs that invest in our communities, in our affordable and early childcare family, because transformation is advocacy in action. Next slide. Okay, this is today's agenda. We'll be going into some factoids. Did you know? We're going to be talking about why even vote. Why are your reasons for voting? We're going to be checking on your status on same day registration. Maybe you missed it. We're going to show you how to get on board. We're going to also talk about our voter resources and voter guides, all of our propositions, and we'll go by the propositions and a brief overview on each one and ways to cast your ballot. We will be talking about a call to action, a poll, and some really great giveaways today. Let's see, we have Frank, Nikita. All right. Hello, Bruce. All right. Besla Mendoza, provider. All right. Johan Alvarez. All right. That's cool. We have a lot of providers in the house today. Well, today we're offering nonpartisan voter engagement. We're not here to tell you who to vote for or what to vote for. Today's goal is to connect to our communities, to connect to each other, um, and to actually give you information that you'll need for this election season. And today, our goal is to help people, help ourselves and our communities be informed voters. And that's a part of Community Voices Empowerment, is to practice, to support your own advocacy, advocacy for your community and those around you, in efforts, in goals to change our environment by our votes. Next slide. Did you know that in the 2020 presidential election, we had the highest voter turnout of the 21st century? How old were you? Maybe I shouldn't ask how old were you. Have you I was 18 when I voted for the first time, and I just really got a really thrill. They had the little partitions and the curtains, and I went in and cast my vote. But in the 2020 election, there were 66.8 citizens of 18 years or older that voted in that election. And according to the new voting and registration tables, it was released by the US Census Bureau. So it's really important to engage, to speak to those constituents that you know that haven't already voted. How many people got their early voting and already have voted? In the chat room. Let me know how many of you have already voted. I have not yet, so I'm going to wait till Justin comes in so I can get some more information on the propositions. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is a quote that really spoke to me. It says, being adequately informed is just a democratic duty, just as the vote is a democratic right. A misinformed electorate and voting without knowledge is not true democracy. Today, we really want to just understand that when you vote, you're not only electing uh, a, government officials. You and your fellow voters are expressing your needs, your preferences, satisfaction, and dissatisfaction about in this electorate. Voting is our primary language of democracy, and voters who we put into office decide all types of issues, uh, issues that we care about. Our commitment to develop solutions for our pressing societal, uh, we have a lot of things that are going on in society, and we'd like to know how our tax dollars are spent. Uh-huh. And these wins could not be possible without the countless of voices of our people that went before us and people that have stood, that have fought, and have demanded change. And that is power. And we must keep exercising that power. Next slide. Okay, this is a video. If you missed the deadline to register to vote, you can actually do a provisional vote, and we'll show you this video now.
Did you miss the May 21st deadline to register to vote or to update your voter registration in time for the June 5th primary? There's good news. You still have an opportunity to vote if you take advantage of a new option known as conditional voter registration. While you won't be able to vote at your local polling place or vote by mail, the conditional voter registration process will allow you to still cast a ballot. Just go to your county elections office or a designated satellite location between now and election day. You'll be asked to fill out a voter registration form and you'll be provided a ballot. Once county elections officials have verified your voter registration, your vote will then be counted. And if you live in the county of Madera, Napa, Nevada, San Mateo, or Sacramento, you can register to vote and vote at any vote center in your county before the election. It's a simple way we're continuing to expand voting rights and opportunities in California. To find a list of conditional voter registration locations in your county, visit sos.ca.gov and click the Conditional Voter Registration button. Thank you.
So it's still not too late to vote. You can get it in there. Now, at this time, I'd like to introduce my illustrious colleague, Justin Blakely, our public policy advocate for external affairs and Crystal Stairs, and he will be guiding us through the propositions.
Thank you, Nina. Good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing this afternoon? If we could get the chat going up again. This is a good day to be talking about voting, the critical need for us to be civically engaged. It's one thing to say that we all registered to vote, right? That's half the battle, but really it's how are we civically engaged to know how to make those right choices when it comes to filling in our ballot before election day, November 8th. And really knowing who are those people we want representing us. And so I'm so excited to be here. Every time I do a webinar within our Community Voices program, this is like talking to family. So as we have this conversation right now, it's going to be a conversation with family, okay? A nonpartisan one, I might add, right? So it's good to see a lot of faces. Love seeing all of our family here today. So let's get into it. So what my section of this webinar is going to be really about is really talking about just some general overview of why the midterm elections are so important. I really want to be able to give a brief overview in this, what you'll notice is that my slides are literally directly from the League of Women Voters Easy Voter Guide. And what we'll do, although I'll be covering a very brief overview from, the presentation they provided, we will be able to send this out to you all so that you can spend some more time intimately looking at it, say if you just want to read a little bit more right after this webinar, right? All right, cool. And then lastly, also we'll talk about, just some unique ways to vote. just some of those things that we got to do before we, release our ballot off, right? Signing off, knowing where to drop off our ballots if we want to do it before November 8th. And if you want to go to a voting center, how to do what that process is. So we'll briefly cover that. And then I'll just briefly touch on Crystal Stairs and what our policy agenda is and how it aligns with what our early education advocates across the state are really focusing in on this next legislative season, which really starts at the beginning of the year, January 1st, 2023. Wow, can you guys believe it? We are about to head into 2023. I can't believe it. So here, as I said, we'll be covering, we'll be walking through a voter guide that the League of Women Voters has produced. And again, as I said, we'll be also sharing this out so that, you all can be able to review this also on your own. I do want to note that, again, these are state propositions that we're going to be talking about today, right? As a state of California. However, please note on your ballots, you're going to see propositions that, will affect you on the county, LA County. I assume all of us obviously in this room are LA County residents, right? And then also, depending on what city you live in, right? You're going to have maybe some ballot measures that are on the ballot. For example, I live in the city of Compton, and so we have some different measures that are affecting us on the city municipality side, right? So the city council and how the city is governed, and also on the Compton School Board side. And you may see some of those things similar, say if you live in a different city, right, respectively. So just be on the lookout for that and know that's what we're covering. And so the propositions we'll be covering are Prop 1, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31. And I don't know about you all, but I saw a lot of ads for some of these propositions and I got even more confused. I don't know if anybody else can relate. I don't know if we could put it in the chat. Okay, I see Dory, you putting your head up. I was confused, brother. So we want to be able to provide this platform so we can maybe give some context to what a yes on a proposition is and then what a no means to a proposition, right? So what I want to get into right before we even go to the propositions is also talking about why the midterm elections is just a very critical election for us to be very civically invested in, right? Really engaged in, I should say, because it's not only just about how we elect our president, during the presidential election season every 4 years, but depending on the president that's in office, or regardless of the president that's in office, you see a lot of things federally happen over time, right? And so midterms, right, on a federal sense, right, in the federal context, is really that time where we see how the legislature, and I'm talking about again federally, how things will sway, right? On the House, the House meaning the House of Representatives, Congress, and then in the US Senate, right? What way will legislation, the votes on legislation swing, right? In this critical 2 years after a president's been elected. So as we talk about things that we are, interested in on our own in terms of, things we want to see happen legislatively from our elected officials, this time, right, is a critical time for us to vote so that we have the right representation to make sure that that legislative agenda that we want to see move forward is actually moving forward, right, based on the representative. So, but what's also critical, right, is that we also have statewide electeds that we need to elect for the state of California. That's very critical, right? It's not just city council that, I always argue we definitely need to pay attention to, right? Our local elections, right? Local meaning, what city we live in, right? Our local school boards, also our county supervisors, those elections are very critical because the things that they do will have an immediate effect on us, right? And so I argue the same thing is for also our statewide positions, right? And so what's, the most famous one that we always know about, right, in the state of California, right? Our governor, right? So our governor is up for election this election cycle. But these are some of the different other ones that are up for election, right? We have our lieutenant governor, right, which is, it speaks for itself, but that's second in command. Say, as our current governor, just to give an example, say if our current governor just even leaves the state on official state business, The lieutenant governor is now the acting governor. He's that person is presiding over the state of California as the, the most the highly the highly elected official, the highest elected official in the state, right? So whoever is in that position is very important, right? It's a Secretary of State, right? We've been hearing about all the news, right? And we're not even going to get into it, but we've been hearing about the news of why, making sure we have a very it's critical that we pay attention to who we elect at our Secretary of State office is very important, right? So we can control the integrity of our election process, right? And then also something I just want to highlight, because all of us here are strong champions and supporters of early education, right? Really talking about our superintendent of public instruction, right? A statewide office that is critical to even me on the policy end and how I'm tracking legislation for the state. Any directives that the state gives out for education, right? It comes through our superintendent of public instruction. So critical statewide elected offices that we definitely need to be watching and paying attention to. So let's get into it, right? So some of the state, so we'll get started with the first proposition, right? And these propositions, I'll note that some are constitutional amendments to the state constitution, and then some of them are also referendums for taxes, right? So there may be a tax that may be imposed if we vote a certain way on them, right? And so again, we're just giving high level just a critical take on what the setting the stage for us all, right? And so the first one, right, is it's about reproductive freedom, right? And this is a legislative constitutional amendment, right? Which means so how it is now, right? It reads that in California, the law says that you have the right to choose to have an abortion and have the right to privacy about your personal reproductive decisions. But these rights are not specifically named in the California Constitution. The California Constitution is the highest law. Only a new amendment can change it, right? And this amendment requires a 2/3 vote of the legislature, which the legislature did vote. They wanted to say that reproductive freedom is protected in the state, right? Now, because the legislature has voted on it, now they're bringing it to us as voters to make sure that we are all in agreement, right? Because again, we're talking about democracy. And so what does a yes mean, right, for Prop 1? The California Constitution should protect reproductive rights so that they will not be at risk in the future, right? So that's what yes on Prop 1 means. A no means if you vote no against it, this means Proposition 1 is an extreme, expensive, and pointless waste of tax money that will allow for abortion at any time. So again, a yes means that you are, again, someone that's in support of California legally and through the California Constitution protecting the reproductive freedom rights for residents of the state of California. A no is saying we should not, through our Constitution of the state of California, protect it. All right. So let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. How we feeling so far? All right. We got one proposition in. All right. Okay. I see thumbs up. Let's keep moving. Now, I don't know about you all. So I don't know if anybody else is a YouTube fan. I just love watching videos. I just watch random stuff. So I'll watch one on tornadoes. Like, you know what I mean? So, but the reason I bring up this is because I don't know about you all. And it's also happening through websites, but I see a lot of ads for Proposition 26 and 27. Does anybody else, can I get a hand wave or something? I see some nodding heads. Yeah, see, we all get it, right? So I just want to spend a little time talking about it and just what's the yes and the no of it, right? And again, you're all going to receive this stuff in the mail, through email so that you all can, review it more intimately on your own. But let's just briefly go over both of these. So Proposition 26 is talking about in-person sports betting in tribal casinos, right? So where are we at right now? So this is what it's saying. Tribal casinos in California can offer poker, bingo, and other games, but sports betting, roulette, and dice games are illegal in tribal casinos and everywhere else in the state of California. What Proposition 26 would do if it passes, right? I want to really get it into both of these just really intimately so we just can understand this. So Prop 26, if it passes, would legalize in-person sports betting, roulette, and dice games in tribal casinos. It'll legalize in-person sports betting at four-horse racetracks and allow private lawsuits against illegal gambling in some situations, right? And so what does this affect on the state budget? Proposition 26 could raise up to tens of millions of dollars each year in revenue from casinos, horse racetracks, and fines from lawsuits. Regulating in-person sports betting could reach the low tens of millions each year. So what does a yes mean? A yes means Prop 26 will allow California tribes to provide vital service like healthcare, housing, infrastructure, and education to tribal members. And taxing sports betting would increase the state's revenue. What a no means is that this measure would create a big increase in gambling that benefits only a few tribes. There's also a note that gambling is addictive. Legalizing more types of gambling is bad for public health and safety. So Proposition 26 looks like, say if you vote yes on it, that there's monies that will be taxed, right? From in-person sports betting that will then come back and be funneled as a state revenue dollar to go back into tribal communities so they can pay for infrastructure, housing, some of the things I just said. And then a no would essentially mean that it would stay amongst a small group that will benefit from the revenues from it. All right. So that's what 26 is. Proposition 27, online sports betting. Online sports betting. So how it is right now, the United States Supreme Court has ruled that each state can decide whether to legalize sports betting. Sports betting is illegal everywhere in California, including on tribal land. So what does Prop 26 mean, or what would happen if this passed? Legalizing online sports betting in California, not on tribal lands for people 21 and over, right? It legalizes online sports betting. Bets could only be placed through a gaming tribe or qualifying business. And really, what are the effects on the state budget? What does this mean for our budget? Legalizing online sports betting would raise up to the mid hundreds of millions of dollars each year. Regulating online sports betting could cost up to tens of millions of dollars each year. So what does a yes mean for this? Essentially, it means that it would regulating online sports betting would protect gamblers and end illegal online gambling operations. This measure would increase funding to address homelessness and mental health in California, right? So similar in the way of Proposition 26, that if there is a oversight of online sports betting, there's revenue tax dollars that will come into the state that then will then benefit different things that need support in the state of California, which include the legislature is proposing would include addressing homelessness and mental health in California. Now, what would a no on Prop 27 mean? A no on Prop 27 would mean large out-of-state gambling companies will profit off of Californians and block smaller operations from the market. Essentially, this is saying that similar to, again, Prop 26 in the way that voting no on Prop 27 would mean that we would keep it amongst a small group of people. It will allow actually for outside companies outside of the state of California to be able to take money and benefit from it. And no money would be funneled through the state of California as a state revenue generator for taxes, right? So that's what that means, right? So that's Prop 26 and 27. Very interesting propositions that I was told in combination, both propositions, the amount of money that went through was over $1 billion, and that's combined, right? So a lot of money spent on those two propositions. Crazy, right? So let's get into the rest of them, right? We're making good on timing. All right. Prop 28. This is about funding arts and music education, right? I know, I don't know about you all, but I know I've had conversations, when we're talking about our school system, like, man, like, where's our music classes and, all these different things that we used to see back in the day in our high schools and middle schools, so on and so forth. This proposition is the state proposing to address this in terms of bringing funding to the arts and music education, right? So as it is right now, every year the state must set aside about 40% of its income revenue to fund public schools. but the state doesn't have another annual source of funding for arts and music education in public schools, right? So what would happen if Prop 28 passed? This means that the state must set aside some of its revenue to fund arts, music, and education in the K through 12 public system. So what would this effect mean on our state budget? That means that the arts and music education will cost approximately $1 billion each year. So this is a tax proposition, right? And the tax would mean a yes on this would mean that arts and music education can improve a student's personal and academic life. Only 1 in 5 schools have dedicated teachers for arts programs. A no on Proposition 28 would mean that Prop 28 would limit the state fund available for other spending. So essentially, we're looking at a thing where you're voting yes on Prop 28 to be able to be a tax that would then go straight directly to funding arts and music education in our K through 12 system. A no would mean that we would not create a new revenue stream to fund arts and music education in our K through 12 system. All right. Prop 29, kidney dialysis clinics requirements, right? The way it is now, and this is something that if we were tracking this proposition, it may look familiar. This is a proposition we actually voted, it was taken to the voters back in 2020, the last election cycle. And so it's being brought back. And how it is now is that if a person's kidneys stop working, they may need treatment called dialysis. In California, licensed dialysis clinics will usually provide dialysis. When a person is receiving dialysis, their personal doctor must visit them at least once a month. Most patients have dialysis treatments paid for by Medicare and Medi-Cal. And essentially, it's talking about private insurance pays higher rates for treatment than Medicare and Medi-Cal. Infections might cause the infections that might be caused by dialysis must be reported to the federal government. So what is this talking about really? This is talking about the fact that if Prop 29 passes, this would mean clinics must have at least one doctor, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant present during all treatment hours. Clinics must report any dialysis-related infections to the state every 3 months. And you could kind of read the rest of that. But what does a yes mean? It essentially means that speaking to dialysis is a dangerous procedure. Clinics should always have a healthcare provider available to help, right? So this is just yes on Prop 29 means that you're requiring that, how I said earlier, at least a doctor, nurse practitioner, or a physician assistant is present at the dialysis clinic, is making that requirement for that, right? A no would mean Prop 29 would take healthcare providers away from hospitals and emergency rooms. Some dialysis clinics in the state may close due to increased costs. And essentially that means that a no would be the fact that some of these dialysis clinics may close because they do not have someone required to be on site, right? And this would be a requirement. So that is Prop 29. How are we doing, y'all? We got 2 more, and then we're gonna keep on rocking. All right. We all here. How's the chat doing? How are we feeling about everything? Can we get some traffic in the chat? I want to make sure it's all making sense for everybody. All right, cool. So the last 2, Prop 30, income tax on millionaires for electric cars. So the way it is now, where are we at right now with this, right? The state collects taxes on income made in California, right? Taxes. In 2021, the state collected over 130 billion in income tax. Most of this money goes to California's main budget, which is called our general fund. The money in the general fund supports state services like public schools and healthcare, right? Which are the 2 largest, but obviously it's more than that. So what does this affect, or what would Prop 30 do, right? And this is an income tax on the millionaires. And just a fun fact, I guess I would say, last year, I might be a nerd for knowing these type of statistics, but last year the state collected from those who make 500,000 and more. They collected last year 50 billion from just those people who make that much, right? So I'm saying that to say California is a very progressive. Yeah, you see Nina's wow. I said the same thing when I read it. I was like, wow. California is a very progressive a tax state, meaning that they tax those who are very wealthy, right? And so this is essentially another tax that would be to millionaires that would essentially fund a lot of the progressive climate change or climate initiatives that the state is really trying to progress on, right? This is why they're proposing this, right? And they're looking at who to be able to tax, and they're looking at the millionaires, right? And so what does Prop 30 mean? Or if you say yes to Prop 30, what does that mean? Greenhouse gas emissions from cars and other transportation are the largest contributors to climate change, and we need to take action now. Again, speaking to a lot of the progressive climate change policies that the state of California has been pushing out. I'm not sure if y'all know, but California also decided, the legislature, I should say, decided that as of 2035, they don't want any car manufacturer in the state of California to produce any more gas fueled cars, right? So after 2035, we won't be seeing any at least made, right? We'll obviously probably still be driving them, of course, but they won't be made after 2035. So that's the type of stuff California is really doing. And then I want to highlight what Prop 30 would also contribute to, or where some of that money would be going to, right? Wildfires are getting worse and we need more money to manage them, right? And so that's speaking to the fact that Prop 30, the revenue generated, right? And you'll see in terms of the effect on the state budget, it could raise between 3.5 to 5 billion each year. It's going to also contribute to how do we manage and mitigate all the wildfires happening in the state of California, right? And so some of that money is also going to definitely go to addressing that. And then again, if a no, that means if you're voting no on Prop 30, excuse me, you're saying high earners may leave the state and California increases its income tax. So essentially it's talking about how it may run away those who are the most wealthiest in the state. So that's what that's really talking about. And a no would essentially mean that we wouldn't want to tax the wealthy to address not only providing the infrastructure for electric cars. So any people who drive Teslas, I don't drive a Tesla, but I'm hearing in conversation they're saying, oh, we don't have enough charging stations. And if the state wants us to, and this is just even me speaking, if the state wants us to move to this electric car, move away from fossil fuel, the state is responding saying, yeah, well, we do need to create the infrastructure for that, right? And so this is what that is addressing, right? Just to be clear. All right, cool. Prop 31. This is something that we've actually probably seen if you've, again, been following the propositions from last year or last election cycle. And this is a yes or no to banning flavored tobacco products. A yes would mean, you're saying that, kids are drawn to the sweet flavored tobacco products. Nicotine is a very, addictive, and flavored tobacco nicotine is very addictive, and flavored tobacco could cause lifelong addictions. And a no would mean, you're saying that we shouldn't ban the flavored tobacco products. And so a yes is really talking about those who are more strongly influenced by the tobacco product sale are our children, right? And a no is saying they aren't. This is going to be bad for small businesses who sell it, and that would be a no to Prop 31, right? And a yes is saying this is essentially harming our kids the most. We need to be able to ban it from all stores, convenience stores, all that good stuff where they're sold. All right. So that is all the propositions. I want to move to just briefly, and again, this is something super simple. I just want to highlight it though. When we're all voting, so California is a vote by mail state. So that means we all get our ballot in the mail, obviously, right? But what's really important is that when we're voting, we have to make sure we do some small, quick procedures. And so I just wanted to just flag for you all, because sometimes we even may forget, we may know, but we even may forget. Once you fill out your ballot, which is great, that's the great first step, you got to make sure you sign and date the back, and it's in that red box. If anybody has their ballot, you would know what I'm talking about right now, but it's in that little red box. Yep, I see Dorian put it. I appreciate you, sir. Yep. And so make sure you sign and date that. and make sure that your signature is the one that is registered through your, when you signed your DMV license, when you signed off on your signature, that's in the system, because they do verification checks. They do send out a notice saying, hey, we have your ballot, but, we just need to verify your signature. They did used to do, I'm not sure if they still do that, but they will, email you back saying, hey, we may need you to verify this because we just want to verify your signature. So make sure you're doing that accurately is all I'm saying. So that's a big thing I just wanted to briefly touch. I think, as we talk about the election process, this is, I won't go into the full thing, right? But as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse toggle, but that's that red box that I'm talking about. And that's how voter signatures are verified, through that signature box. And this is just the process of what happens once you vote. I think it's really cool to know how it happens. What I love about LA County is that we, or just our general election system, is that we're also sending notifications. I was just talking to my mom the other night, and she said even the post office gave her a notification. So not even the LA County Registrar Recorder, but also the post office is saying that they received your ballot and it's on its way. So, and then lastly, I just want to update you all. You voted, you sent your ballot in, you voted on November 8th. What happens, right? We want to know who won. You go to LA, it says lavote.gov, but go to lavote.gov, go to election results. You will start to see them roll in after polls close at 8 p.m. You'll see the first update probably around 9 p.m. And so you'll keep seeing them continuously update. And then know that 30 days, in 30 days from the election, they certify the election, right? So you'll see a lot of updates happening between November 8th to the 30-day time frame. And that's when we'll know who won, but you can kind of see it already before the 30 days, right? So just some quick things to highlight to you all. That's just if you vote at a voting center. Now, as I kind of close, I just want to just briefly touch on, Crystal Stairs and the work we're doing. We had a very strong fight last year with our policy priorities, and really addressing our full experience of our children and families, and also addressing the inequitabilities that our child care providers are facing, and not just even right now, but over an historic amount of time, right? And really what we're talking about this upcoming legislative session, and when I say that, as I said earlier, we're talking about once the state legislature goes back into session, which is in January, we're going to be really strongly championing, one, provider wages, and ensuring that we're improving the working conditions of our child care providers, right? That's one thing. And then second, is what's very important for us all, that will have a huge impact, is really, as we know, I'm sure we all in this room know, we have universal transitional kindergarten, right? We're really taking a strong stance on the fact that it must be a mixed delivery system in how we roll out transitional kindergarten. What does that mean? Just in short, that means that we can't just have all of our young kids, our 3 and 4 year olds specifically, go to our LEAs, which is also known as our schools, right? We want to be able to create this option, right? We want to make sure and ensure that there's an option, parental choice, right? Family choice, that they can not only go to a school district if they want to, but also they have the option to attend a Head Start, one of our amazing childcare providers that are on this line, whether you're a family childcare home provider, whether you're a center-based provider, whether you're a family friend and neighbor provider, right? We want to ensure that that mixed delivery option is available for our parents, and that we're not only ensuring that there's accessibility, but we're ensuring that we're not barring our childcare providers who know and can do this work and have demonstrated they can do this work for a historic amount of time, right? So we want to ensure that we have this being addressed. And then with our childcare provider wages, we're really looking at a system in the state legislature right now about how are we addressing this from the true cost of care, not a regional market rate at the time, but what's the true cost of care that providers are doing day in and day out. So that's our brief policy agenda. We'll have more as we continue to, roll out things. But I just want to give you guys a quick glance into what we're working on our policy and advocacy side for the agency. But that is all for me. I appreciate you all indulging me about this fun stuff. I'm going to pass it back to Nina to take over from there. Thank you all.
Hi, can I get a hand clap for Justin? Thumbs up. Yay. You guys feel empowered? You a little bit more of an understanding on what the propositions are. And we also will be sending that out to email to you. So at this time, what I want to do is I want to call to action. And we would like you to participate in our poll. Okay. So this is what we have coming up next.
Do you want me to launch the poll right now?
Yes, please. Okay, this was a question at the beginning of our slide. In the 2020 presidential election, what was the percentage of citizens who voted? Okay, you have a multiple choice question there. And what you're going to do is you're going to weigh in on the question. Okay, we'll give you a little bit more time to answer. Come on now, let's get in here.
And Nina, just for your information, the first question and second question are grouped together. So as soon as they answer that first question, they're answering the second question as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Isaac. Let's see. All right. We got 100% answered already? You guys are
Right
quick
now
on the
we're at
draw.
about 12%,
Okay.
50% of people.
Get in here. Just answer. Thank you for your participation. We appreciate that. All right.
All right, I'm gonna end it here in the last 8 seconds here. So you had 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer.
Okay.
And okay. So I'll share out the results right now.
Okay.
Do you have the results, Nina?
Yeah, results. Okay. Okay, let's see. All right. Who are our winners? It was 68%. Who chose 68%? Raise your hand. Rosario? All right. Judith? Who else? We have a real cool swag item for you for the next slide.
So we'll be able to know, depending on how you answered there. We'll know if you answered correctly, and if so, you'll be given one of our swag items that Nina's gonna take you to.
Okay, and we'll be giving away a really cool Community Voices AirTag. You can put the AirTag in your piece of luggage or on your wife or your husband. And that will be to our winners, and we'll mail that out to you. If you would be so kind as if to email me your address, and we will send those to you directly. Okay, next slide. Okay, did you know that our elected officials make decisions about all of the services by voting? And we do have a say in those who make those decisions. And as we do that with our vote. Next slide. Okay, and this is our informal poll. Which of the two services impact you the most? Okay, community planning, that's our public transit, our parks, our zoning, sidewalks, roads and safety, childcare, Head Start, family planning. Our childcare vouchers come from our votes and how we vote, our education, our free lunch programs, English as a second language, housing, our Section 8 list just opened up on HACLA, really important. Our homeless services, there's a great big problem that we have in Los Angeles and in California as a whole with the homeless problem, unemployment, healthcare, and the environment. Next slide. Okay, here we have two calls to action. You can actually, if you need help, you're unsure, you have some situation, maybe with your ballot or your voting, you can go to these two hyperlinks, Helping Your Vote, Democracy Works. They have a toolkit for voters that is in English and Spanish and many other languages. And there's also voting resources in California. You can click on those links and actually get that information directly in live time. Next slide. Okay, we're going to have another giveaway. Okay. The first person that we have a list here of the people that actually came into, next slide. Okay, we already answered that question, so we will be sending those out to the winners. That's our Swag Spot Pro Bluetooth Finder and Stress Ball, and those are the winners of our poll, and we will be mailing those out to you directly. Next slide. Okay, what I wanted to say was I want to give a special mention to the first couple of people that came into the Community Voices and registered. Is Nikita Houston in the house? Nikita, are you there? Okay, Nikita.
Yes, she's with us in the
All
chat.
right, wonderful, Nikita. And is Terry Jones in the house? That's the second person that registered.
Terry Jones doesn't appear to be on our call today.
Okay, and is Tina Scott in the house?
I don't see a Tina Scott either.
Okay, all right. So Nikita, we're sending you, since you were the first person to sign up for Community Voices on our registration, we're sending you a wonderful swag bag, and we will mail that out to you directly. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you for your participation today. Please don't forget to email us for directions on how to get your swag items. My email address is nfrankieholloman@crystalstairs.org. And you can also click on this link if you want to become a Community Voices partner.